Oiler fans are livid following last night's defeat to the Los Angeles Kings in Game 2 of the Western Conference first round matchup. Folks, this is going to be quite the video. Quite the video. And if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so as we just hit 2,900 subscribers on the road to 3,000. Almost 3,000 of you watch me rant about this team night in and night out, and this video is going to be no different. But again, thank you for subscribing and joining us here along the way. And of course, if you are new here, do not forget to hit that button down below. But without further ado, it's 6-2 BS right now following last night's game, and let me set the stage for you. But before we get into last night's game, just sort of what the team is all about here. Stan Bowman went on Hockey Night in Canada's After Hours March 23rd and said this: I think our goaltending gets too much criticism. They've had their ups and downs, there's no question. Haven't been lights out all year, but I think they find a way to win games on both Skinner and Cal Pickard. And after reading that quote, every time I read it, it just makes me more mad about what this Oiler team could have been with average goaltending. Average goaltending. Yeah, I'm getting right into it, folks. Average goaltending after watching that performance last night. Performance in quotations as the Oilers dropped this one 6-2. Now, mind you, wasn't all on the Oilers goaltending. Sure, it was a team effort, but one or two big saves would not kill this team. Just getting into the scoring summary here, it's all Kings all the time here in this one. Brand Clark opens it up on the power play with the primary assist from former Oiler Warren Foegele, who just seems to always be on the right side in these playoff series, and Quentin Byfield all alone on Stuart Skinner there makes it 2-0, and then Andrei Kuzmenko with a wacky bounce off the back end makes it 3-0 Kings. And then Leon Draisaitl trying to put some spark in this team before the second period ends with a very nice pass from John Klingberg. I think John Klingberg was one of the best Oilers all night, and that's just the way things were going. Victor Arvidsson makes it 3-2 Kings early in the third period, trying to spark yet another comeback here from the Oilers, but Victor giveth Victor taketh away as he begins with a turnover to the LA Kings there to Anze Kopitar, and he finds Adrian Kempe to make it 4-2 Kings. And they just continued on. Anze Kopitar making it 5-2, and from that point, Stuart Skinner was pulled for, I do believe, the sixth time in his playoff career, a very short playoff career up to this point. And then Adrian Kempe wires it on Cal Pickard. They didn't even let him get warmed up into this game, and it is 6-2 LA. Again, just a full, complete meltdown here by the Edmonton Oilers. They made it 3-2, with the Arvidsson goal, but after that just seemed to have, lost all interest in this at all. I mean, not just the big guys, Draisaitl and McDavid, but also the depth guys who you need to rise to the occasion in a series like this. Nowhere to be found. Zip, zilch, nothing from these guys at all. I don't know if, most of them are trying to, play through injury. I know, guys like Jake Wallman are, Zach Hyman is trying to, but of course you got guys like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and the rest of your bottom six just doing diddly squat. I mean, Evander Kane coming back from, almost 11 months since his last NHL game, tried to get warmed up into it, bobbled the puck a few times, looked very rusty, but it'll take some time for him to get warmed up into this series, like I just said. But shots on goal, 31-26 in favor of the LA Kings, but the Oilers going 0 for 3 on all three of their man advantages, just looking completely lost. That's what they were. That's, if I had to sum up this game in one word for the Oilers last night, in just, like I said, one word, lost is what they were. And the LA Kings going 3 for 5 on their power plays there, looking like the Harlem Globetrotters against the Edmonton Oilers version of the Washington Generals. And like I mentioned, Stuart Skinner with an 8-21, 11 goals given up in 2 games. Let me just say that again. 11 goals given up in just 2 games. Abysmal. Just abysmal from Stuart Skinner in the Oiler crease. You can see there the Kings made it 5-2, and he's laughing. I mean, sure, we're all human, but at a time like this, where this Oiler organization is at, they're in a win-now Stanley Cup window. You just gave up 5. Sure, not all of them are your fault, and you're laughing. Come on, Stu. I just found that odd. I don't know if that's just human nature, if he laughs when he gets stressed, or just trying to, shake off the Skinner chants from the Crypto.com arena crowd last night. And, Pickard replaced Stuart Skinner, and we heard chants of "We want Skinner." I mean, that is just demoralizing. Kings fans just having their fun. We did it to all of their goaltenders. Quick, Korpisalo, Talbot, Riddick. So now they are on the other side of this. They are having their fun, and a worrying stat here coming from at 2003 Nico here on Twitter. Stuart Skinner is currently playing in his 36th career playoff game. In those 36 games, this is his 19th time recording a sub 900 save percentage, 13th time recording a sub 850. This is not a small sample size anymore, and like I mentioned, I do believe that was his 6th playoff game that he was pulled from. Twice against the Vegas Golden Knights, with Jack Campbell coming in relief. We all saw it against the Vancouver Canucks last year, and it is happening yet again now for Stan Bowman. Goaltending, it deserves its criticism half the time, because most of the time when the defense is playing lights out for the Edmonton Oilers, last night not at all. But you can see the Oilers full complete team effort, and the goaltending drops them. Just a backbreaker, demoralizing, and it just makes me angry when I watch this team. I'm trying to enjoy this game. And the goaltending says absolutely not, kid. But like I mentioned, the defensive side of the Oilers, non-existent for the most part. I don't know if it was just a lack of cohesiveness within this team that hasn't played together as a healthy unit all year long, and everybody just looks lost and confused in the time where you're supposed to batten down the hatches and dig in, as Connor McDavid liked to say in that Amazon docuseries last year. Lots of passengers. Victor Arvidsson, sure, great goal there, but began the turnover that, had the turnover that began the play to the LA King goal that made it 4-2 and essentially put the game out of reach there. But Connor Brown, not really a whole lot from him. Leon Draisaitl, don't know if he's still ailing with something. Probably, you can probably tell, still back-to-back games with a goal. Trent Frederick is obviously hurt. I don't know why he's in the lineup. I don't know if it's the sunk cost fallacy from the Oilers management. They spent so much to get him, and they have him play. Adam Henrique took a penalty. Awful play from most of this team. Zach Hyman still dealing with an injury. Matthias Janmark just out there for cardio. Evander Kane back from injury, and so on and so forth there. McDavid and Draisaitl, just the MVPs of this series so far, in a series where you need everybody and anybody to step up when needed. And that's happening for the LA Kings, but the Edmonton Oilers, just not so much. They're trying to get to the Stanley Cup final again just on merit. Like, hey, we made it last year. Give us a free pass, everybody. We're on our way here. And the LA Kings trying to put a stop to that. And also on the defensive side, not really a whole lot of strong games here. Bouchard, Emberson, Kulak, Nurse, and Wallman all expected a little more out of them. John Klingberg was the only one that exceeded my expectations there. Nifty pass, and he wasn't eaten alive in the Oilers zone whatsoever, which is always a plus for a guy like John Klingberg, who wasn't always known for his defensive abilities. And with Kris Knoblauch, he's not seeing a whole lot of impressive plays by the LA Kings. He says, I don't necessarily see LA making plays to beat us. I see his gift wrapping opportunities, and that's different. If they make a heck of a play and they're able to score goals, you tip your hat and say there's not much we can do. But I don't think I've seen very much of that. I think it's been mostly gas that cost us. And let's take a split screen here on that one by field goal. You can see Darnell Nurse there wrapped up with Alex Ferrier at the top of the face-off circle there, and you can see Quentin Byfield on his way to the net there. Bouchard making the correct play. I mean, covering the pass there with Kevin Fiala, and then you see Byfield get in closer, and Evan Bouchard still maintains his position there. I mean, it's all on all three Oilers here. Skinner for not cutting down the angle, more Bouchard for just standing there and doing God knows what, and then Darnell Nurse again for just trying to defer all defensive responsibility on to Evan Bouchard. You can see Bouchard, I don't even know, I'm getting my words mixed up, don't even know why he's trying to cover the pass there. Fiala isn't even a right-handed shot, and he's not much of a threat when he's right there compared to Quentin Byfield, who is even more closer to Stuart Skinner and much more of a threat there. So the Oilers, that just sums the game up in one image. Everybody's just lost and confused all at the same time, and it just makes you laugh more than gets you angry at all with this situation. But Oiler fans, voice their displeasure on various social media sites. It's just like I said, share another comment. We saw one from Nick there about Stuart Skinner, but from Trent Wilhouk, Oilers are getting out-goalied, outplayed, outsmarted, out-coached, out-gamesmanshiped in this series. We're lucky to go 5 if this continues. The summer of Jeff Jackson turned out to be a disaster, and Bowman's trade deadline is a close second. Oilers are a mess. So Oiler fans just very livid, like I mentioned at the start of this video, and they have every right to be. We all saw the team almost reached the apex of the mountain last June, and we thought, hey, let's see this again. And we all praised Jackson for the July 1st acquisitions, myself included. You can dunk on me in the comments. I thought they were great moves with Arvidsson, who notoriously was fantastic for the Kings in the playoffs when he was able to play in the playoffs against the Edmonton Oilers and those first round matchups. And then Jeff Skinner, notorious goal scorer. That's what the Oilers needed. They needed somebody who could finish. Little did we know Arvidsson would just be a pile of goo the entire season, being injured for a good chunk of it. And Jeff Skinner, at the same time, in Kris Knoblauch's doghouse, that wasn't any fault to Jeff Skinner whatsoever. It was just his deployment was incorrect for the entire season. Not being given first line minutes for a good chunk of the 82 game schedule. He's always, placed with guys like Matisse Janmark and Adam Henrique. Sure, bolster the bottom six, but you need scoring. You got to put scores in those respective areas. Now, again, Trent had some great points there. Just being out everything in this series. Not to mention the awful officiating whatsoever. But that's another story for another day. And I'm not going to pin all the excuses on officiating in this one. The Oilers just have to tighten everything up. And I mean everything. The neutral zone, the O zone, the D zone. They just need to tighten up and stick to their game. Because if they start getting all pretty and all start getting cute in all three areas of the ice, this will be a very quick LA King series victories. They go on to the second round to face either the Vegas Golden Knights or the Minnesota Wild. And even if the Oilers did manage to go on to the second round, those would still be two very tough opponents. So the Oilers currently wearing brick shoes and quicksand here. It is sinking fast for them, and things may go even more south if the Oilers do not get things on the right path there. And just the special teams, like I did mention last year, this was last year's comparison. The Oilers' power play was 45%, and the PK was 100%. Meanwhile, the Kings' power play was 0%, and the penalty kill was 55%. Each team did score 12 goals 5-on-5, so special teams was the difference maker in last year's series, and it looks like it may be the difference maker in this year's series as well, because if the Oilers can't make a save, or can't buy a save, and they can't, stay disciplined, this series, again, will go very, very south. And that just, sort of goes to the July 1st and the whole summer of, Jeff Jackson and Bowman getting rid of those key Oilers penalty killers, Ryan McLeod, Warren Fogle, so on and so forth there. I'm sure there are more names that'll come to my mind, but it's just, the cohesiveness of the special teams units that the Oilers, pretty much, got to the Stanley Cup final with, and, they blew it all up instead of running it back. Sure, 2020 hindsight, and a lot of recency bias with this series, but it just goes to show what could this Oiler team have looked like if they just sort of stayed the same and made some tweaks instead of blowing it up. Like I said, I was praising the July 1st moves, but that's just not me thinking straight apparently. But in this series, the Kings improved to 4 for 9 on the power play in the series, while another failed conversion by the Oilers dropped them to 0 for 5 against their aggressive penalty kill. That's forcing Edmonton's top unit to execute on every single one of their passes. Knoblauch with these special teams, if we have an opportunity to turn this thing around, it's special teams. But you look at the goals against, there are certain things that we can do better. Not that we have to change our system, but we just need to elevate our play, mostly when we're on the kill. Now, it's only 2-0 Kings. Hopefully, if the Oilers do tighten things up, it could be a long series. I know I was expecting to be more mad, but it's just more disappointment than anything at this stage in the game. But I might get mad if the Oilers do go down 3-0 in this series. I'm trying to stay optimistic, trying to stay positive, but there's really nothing positive to talk about with this Oiler team. Sure, McDavid's going God mode every game, but that's not doing really anything for the rest of the team to sort of pick up the pace and realize, okay, he's doing all the work. Maybe we should do something. But the rest of the team, McDavid's doing the whole school project, and the team is just putting their name on it. McDavid and Draisaitl, no disrespect to Leon Draisaitl, but those two, again, doing all the work themselves, and the rest of the team is just going, oh, hey, guys, we actually did something, when no, you didn't. You are just, helping to the demise of the season forward. But for our next segment, down but not out. There's a little optimism with this team heading back home, because the old saying goes, you're never in trouble until you lose at home. But that will not happen until tomorrow night, or hopefully they don't lose tomorrow. That's not what I meant. Friday, April 25th at Rogers Place. Their Kings Oilers, 9 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Mountain on Sportsnet there. And a potential, Sunday game, not potential, game 4 will happen a little bit earlier. All of these 9 o'clock Central starts, 8 o'clock Mountain starts, all these late starts, but Sunday will be a little earlier for all of our enjoyment there. But we still got to look forward to game 3. And Knoblauch coming back home says, the Kings are very hungry with a lot of belief, and they're playing well at home. We can play better. Special teams is the biggest part of it, but everywhere we can step up our game. We've seen this team face difficult situations, a lot more difficult than it is right now. There's no quit in this group. It's certainly not an ideal situation, but we certainly won't panic. Now, Knoblauch, with his head on his shoulders, but it always sucks when this team, they have to do their best work with their back against the wall. They can never make it easy on themselves, in all the playoff rounds pretty much during the McDavid Draisaitl era there. I mean, even going back to 2017, going up 2-0 against the Anaheim Ducks, and then they can just never make it easier on us whatsoever. This team just needs to sweep a playoff round. They haven't done that in quite some time. Even I don't believe they've swept a team since the Gretzky and Curry days. When it just goes to show this team, the lack of killer instinct really shows, and it hurt them last year on the road to the Stanley Cup Final. If they swept the Kings in 4, maybe just maybe something else could have gone differently for the Oilers. But the lack of killer instinct and the lack of ability to not do anything unless you're in trouble is very worrisome there. Just get the job done from the get-go, and that's all you really have to worry about. But Draisaitl says, we got to dig in, which seems to be a motto for this Oilers team, and we got to be better. And this group has a lot of character in here, so we'll regroup, let this one go, and go back home and try to bring our best game. After even the worst games, the Oilers media trying to say, okay, well, we're not going to give up at all. So you're not expecting the team to just, give up mentally after game 2, but just sometimes you got to realize the situation you're in and just be a little more serious in, the media post-game press conferences. I know right off the bat, it's all emotion. But you need to see some fire within this Oiler team. But the Oilers down 2-0, and they will have to make at least a little bit of history. As the last time this team did go down 2-0 on the road was back in 2006 when they did face off against the Marlowe in Joe Thornton San Jose Sharks there. I mean, 2-1 in games 1 and 2 was a little closer than 6-5 and 6-2 after the first 2 games. And the Oilers had Dwayne Rollison. I don't want to say a prime Dwayne Rollison, but they did have somebody who could steal them a game, and that is exactly what he did after those 2 losses to the Sharks, where he locked in during that triple overtime winner where, Sean Horkoff got the job done. But you just need this entire team to channel the 2006 energy, the dark horse, the workhorse, lunch pail types of guys that would get the job done. But folks, that is it for today's video. I know it's a long one, almost 18 minutes. 18 minutes of me just talking about how awful that game was last night. But let me know your thoughts in the comments regarding game 2 last night. And who do you think starts game 3? Do you think it'll be Cal Pickard? Hopefully it's Cal Pickard. Just reset Stuart Skinner and give the team the chance to win. I mean, we saw what Cal Pickard did when Stuart Skinner was out there, even against the toughest teams. Cal Pickard still made sure this team hung in there. But give me your good and your bad from game 2. I'm very curious to know what you all have to say regarding that one. But folks, have a great rest of your Thursday, and we will see you tomorrow. Let's go Oilers. I'm Matt.